The true price of Apple's $3,500 Vision Pro is closer to $4,600. The new headset teaches a valuable lesson about the cost of tech products, the upsells and add-ons will get you. When Apple unveiled the Vision Pro virtual reality goggles last year at a technology conference, many in the audience gasped at the price, $3,500. That's more than quadruple the cost of a new iPhone and 14 times the cost of a competing headset from Meta. The headset, which Apple has marketed as a computer, movie player and gaming machine, will arrive in stores on Friday. Ahead of its release, the discussion has focused on its price. Many have wondered why people would pay so much to do what they could already do with their computers, TVs and game consoles. Yet the true cost of owning the Vision Pro is probably even higher. Try $4,600. That's because the price shoots up with the add-ons and accessories that many people would want to buy, including Apple's $200 carrying case to protect the Vision Pro on the go, a pair of earphones, such as Apple's $180 AirPods, to listen to music privately, a spare $200 battery pack to get more use from the headset, because with only 2 hours of battery life, the headset won't last long enough to play a feature-length movie, $100 prescription lens inserts for those who use glasses, a spare $200 cushion to make the goggles fit another member of the family, an additional $200 for the larger data storage option, 512 GB instead of the 256 GB on the base model, to hold more videos and apps on the device. And those are just the extras that many consider must-haves. Other options, including Apple's $500 extended warranty coverage, a $70 video game controller and a very uncool $50 battery holder to clip onto your pants, could drive the price well above $5,000, before tax. While I have your attention with these breathtaking numbers, we can all learn a valuable lesson from the Vision Pro about phantom costs, the add-ons that significantly inflate the amount we spend. For electronics, including smartphones, computers and virtual reality headsets, they can include cases and charging gadgets. A clear grasp of the true cost of tech ownership is crucial for any consumers trying to stay in control of their budget, said Ramit Sethi, a personal finance advisor. He said he had learned about phantom costs when he bought a Honda Accord about 20 years ago. He initially thought he was spending $350 a month on the car, to pay off his loan. The true cost ended up $1,000 a month after he added up maintenance, insurance, gas, parking and tolls. Companies count on you not being able to run the math, said Mr. Sethi, who hosts a podcast on money psychology. The bigger the purchase, the more money you invisibly spend. These lessons apply to any tech products we regularly use, not just Apple hardware. Let's run through the phantom costs of a Windows computer and a Samsung phone. Windows computer. Microsoft sells its Surface Laptop 5 at a starting retail price of $1,000. But after some extras are added in the Microsoft Store, it's more realistically a $1,950 laptop, nearly double the sticker price. The extras include $500 for more memory, a pair of earphones, such as Microsoft's $250 headphones, $200 for the Microsoft dock that charges the laptop and connects it to an external display. Here, the biggest phantom cost is memory, which is important for helping the computer smoothly run multiple apps at the same time. Typically, computer makers sell their base models with a modest amount of memory that isn't likely to be enough to keep the computer running fast for many years, so it's wise to buy the model with extra memory. The $1,000 base model of the Surface Laptop 5 comes with only 8 GB of memory, but most people are likely to need double that to smoothly run the latest Windows operating system and new apps and games. The model that includes 16 GB costs an extra $500. Samsung phone. Samsung's new high-end smartphone, the Galaxy S24 Ultra, has a starting price of $1,300. But it's more realistically a $1,540 phone. In the last 5 years, many smartphone makers, including Apple, Google and Samsung, stopped shipping phones with basic accessories like earphones and charging bricks, a shift that increased their profit margins. And in an echo of the way computer makers upsell memory, the base model of a smartphone typically includes a modest amount of data storage that isn't likely to be enough to hold your photos, videos and apps for the long haul. First, a quick aside on storage. An average photo takes up 5 megabytes, according to Samsung. So shooting 3,000 photos would take up roughly 15 gigabytes. Popular mobile games like Fortnite and Final Fantasy VII, Ever Crisis gobble up dozens of gigabytes. On Netflix, each hour of video downloaded for offline viewing takes up about a gigabyte. Long story short, data storage can run out fast, so why get 256 gigabytes when you could spend about $100 more for double that? Unless you already own accessories to work with your new phone, you'll have to tack on these extras. $30 for the Samsung charging brick. $40 for a Samsung protective case. $50 for the Samsung wireless earbuds. An extra $120 to get 512 gigabytes to hold more photos and apps. As of this writing, this data upgrade is free for a limited time promotion. That's not including the cost of using the phone with a modest wireless phone plan for, say, $70 a month. With wireless service included, the cost of owning this Samsung phone over 3 years is about $112.77 a month, or $4,060 total. Bottom line, the point is not to shame people about buying tech, but to raise awareness of what we're actually spending on new gadgets, which is a lot more than we think, Mr. Sadie said. That's why the best practice for most people buying tech products is to hold on to them for as long as they can. This way they maximize the value they get not just from the devices but from the many extras they bought for them along the way. For comparison purposes, the examples above showed the costs of extras like headphones and cases if you bought them directly from the device makers. A simple method to save money would be to shop around for cheaper third-party alternatives, but the purchases would still nonetheless be phantom costs that drove up the overall price of your tech. This all brings us to the biggest phantom cost of regularly buying products like new phones and Apple's Vision Pro, the price you pay for being an early adopter. The more you buy a new phone, the more the people around you expect you to have the newest thing, and the more you create an identity that you always have the newest thing, Mr. Sadie said. That's the biggest phantom cost of all. A first try of Apple's $3,500 Vision Pro headset. I briefly got my hands on Apple's new high-tech goggles, which impressed and creeped me out and raised a question: why do we need these? I got a sneak peek into Apple's vision for the future of computing on Monday. For about half an hour, I wore the $3,500 Vision Pro, the company's first high-tech goggles, which will be released next year. I walked away with mixed feelings, including a nagging sense of skepticism. On one hand, I was impressed with the quality of the headset, which Apple bills as the beginning of an era of spatial computing, where digital data blends with the physical world to unlock new capabilities. Imagine wearing a headset to assemble furniture while the instructions are digitally projected onto the parts, for instance, or cooking a meal while a recipe is displayed in the corner of your eye. Apple's device had high-resolution video, intuitive controls and a comfortable fit, which felt superior to my experiences with headsets made in the last decade by Meta, Magic Leap, Sony and others. But after wearing the new headset to view photos and interact with a virtual dinosaur, I also felt there wasn't much new to see here. And the experience elicited an ick factor I had never had before with an Apple product. More on this later. Fit and control. Let me start from the beginning. After Apple unveiled the headset on Monday, its first major new release since the Apple Watch in 2015, I was permitted to try a pre-production model of the Vision Pro. Apple staff led me to a private room at the company's Silicon Valley headquarters and sat me on a couch for a demo. The Vision Pro, which resembles a pair of ski goggles, has a white USB cable that plugs into a silver battery pack that I slipped into the pocket of my jeans. To put it on my face, I turned a knob on the side of the headset to adjust the snugness and secured a Velcro strap above my head. I pressed down on a metal button toward the front of the device to turn it on. Then I ran through a setup process, which involved looking at a moving dot so the headset could lock in on my eye movements. The Vision Pro has an array of sensors to track eye movements, hand gestures and voice commands, which are the primary ways to control it. Looking at an icon is equivalent to hovering over it with a mouse cursor. To press a button, you tap your thumb and index fingers together, making a quick pinch that is equivalent to clicking a mouse. The pinch gesture was also used for grabbing and moving around apps on the screen. It was intuitive and felt less clunky than waving around the motion controllers that typically come with competing handsets. But it raised questions. What other hand gestures would the headset recognize for playing games? How good will voice controls be if Siri's voice transcription on phones currently doesn't work well? Apple isn't sure yet what other gestures will be supported, and it didn't let me try voice controls. All the many uses. Then came time for the app demos to show how the headset might enrich our everyday lives and help us stay connected with one another. Apple first walked me through looking at photos and a video of a birthday party on the headset. I could turn a dial near the front of the Vision Pro counterclockwise to make the photo backgrounds more transparent and see the real world, including the Apple employees around me, or turn it clockwise to make the photo more opaque to immerse myself. Apple also had me open a meditation app in the headset that showed 3D animations while soothing music played and a voice instructed me to breathe. But the meditation couldn't prepare me for what was coming next, a video call. A small window popped up, a notification of a FaceTime call from another Apple employee wearing the headset. I stared at the answer button and pinched to take the call. The Apple employee in the video call was using a persona, an animated 3D avatar of herself that the headset created using a scan of her face. Apple portrays video conferencing through the personas as a more intimate way for people to communicate and even collaborate in virtual space. The Apple employee's facial expressions looked lifelike, and her mouth movements synchronized with her speech. But because of how her avatar was digitally rendered, with the uniform texture of her face and the lack of shadows, I could tell it was fake. It resembled a video hologram I had seen in sci-fi movies like Minority Report. In the FaceTime session, the Apple employee and I were supposed to collaborate on making a 3D model in an app called Freeform. But I stared at it blankly, thinking about what I was seeing. After 3 years of my being mostly isolated during the pandemic, Apple wanted me to engage with what was essentially a deepfake video of a real person. I could feel myself shutting down. My ick sensation was probably what technologists have long described as uncanny valley, a feeling of unease when a human sees a machine creation that looks too human. A technological feat. Yes. A feature I would want to use with others every day. Probably not anytime soon. To wrap the demonstration with something fun, Apple showed a simulation of a dinosaur that moved toward me when I reached my hand out. I have seen more than my fair share of digital dinosaurs in virtual reality. Almost every headset maker that's given me a VR demo has shown a Jurassic Park simulation in the last 7 years, and I was not excited about this.